Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through how to create an EC2 instance connect endpoint service. Before now, we've been using Bastion host to connect securely to our EC2 instance in our private subnet. But today I'm going to show you how to use EC2 Instance Connect to do the same thing, gain access to your application in your private subnet, and while maintaining high availability and security. So if you look at the AWS documentation here is the schematic, and that's from the internet using the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint service to gain access to our VPC via the EC2 Instance Connect endpoint, which means we're going to create an EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. And if you look at the schematic here, it's in the private subnet. So I want us to go ahead. We'll start from scratch. We're going to set up our VPC, create subnets. We're going to create route tables. We are going to create our internet gateway. We're going to create security groups. We're going to create the endpoint itself. We're going to go to IAM to create our permissions. We are going to also go back to EC2 dashboard to create our instance and then demonstrate this technology. So if we come to the documentation here, you will see how it works. First, you create an instance connect endpoint in a subnet in your VPC. Then, when you want to connect to an instance, you specify the ID of the instance connecting via CLI right in your local machine. We're going to look at how to do that. And you can optionally provide EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. The endpoint acts as a private tunnel to the instance. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at this schematic, we're going to build it, and then we're going to connect via this service, and we're going to also use our CLI in our terminal in our local computer. I'll put this documentation, everything about the documentation, at the description below. So let's go. The first thing we're going to do is let's create a VPC. I'm not going to use VPC and more because I want to take you through the process of creating VPC from scratch. So we'll select our VPC. This tag here is for your name. Give it a name. Choose a CIDR number. Leave our tenancy default. Our name and tag. Let's correct the name. Our tag is good, so we hit create VPC. And there our VPC is created. Let's look for it, connect VPC. So we have our CIDR block. The next thing we do is go to our internet gateway and select create internet gateway, give it a name. Click create internet gateway. Select our internet gateway, come to actions, click attach to VPC, select our VPC, that's it there, click it, click attach to internet gateway. So we have successfully attached our VPC to our internet gateway. Now, when you create a new VPC, it automatically creates a route table for you. So we're going to go through the route table. Let's get VPC, that's the ID. So this is it. Anytime you create a VPC, you will get a free route table, a default route table. It's called the main route table. So that's it. That's for this VPC. So we're going to select. Let's rename it as our public route table. We're going to create another route table. Hit create route table. Give it a name. Select a VPC. Choose our VPC. Click create route table. So we have our public route table as well as our private route table. So we're going to go ahead to create subnets. Select subnet, come to create subnet, select our VPC, go down to your VPC, and we're going to create one public subnet and one private subnet. I'll give it a name, availability zone. Let's choose US East 1A. Give it a CIDR number. Click add new subnet. Give it a name. Choose availability zone, US East 1B. Give it our CIDR number. Click create subnet. So we have two of our subnets created. Let's go to our route table and make all the associations. Let's start with our public subnet. So select public subnet, click routes, click edit routes, click add routes, select outbound internet, select our internet gateway as our target, and click save. Let's come to our subnet associations for public subnet. Click edit subnet, select the public subnet, save it. We are done here. So what we've done is we've added our internet gateway as a route to send traffic outside the VPC, and when traffic comes into our VPC, it should also come through the internet gateway. We also associated our subnet with our public route table, so this subnet becomes a public subnet because we have an internet gateway attached to this route table. So we'll go back to our route table and do the same for our private subnet. This is our private. Select under routes, because we're going to use EC2 instance connect. We won't need to put any NAT gateways or any other thing. We're going to leave it blank. We'll come to our subnet associations, select, edit subnet associations, pick our connect private subnet, save associations. Good. We're done with that. The next thing we'll do is scroll down to security groups, select security group. Now let's go to the documentation to see how we can create security groups. So now if you look down here, you will see security groups for EC2 instance connect endpoint. So here you'll see that you have two security groups to create. One is EC2 instance connect endpoint security group, and the other one is instance security group rule. So what this means is that for our endpoint in our VPC, right, we have an endpoint that we will create. We need a security group for this endpoint, and then in our EC2 console, when we create our instance, we need another security group for the instance. So that's what you see here, these two. So when you create this endpoint, you must have a security group for this endpoint, and you also have a security group for your instance. So two security groups are involved. So now in your security group for your instance must have your endpoint as its source. So in the inbound rules of your security group for your instance, you will select the source as your endpoint security group. So let's create our security group. The first security group we're going to create is our EC2 instance connect endpoint security group. I'll pick the name from the documentation. I'll give it a description. I'll copy that, come back, paste, select my VPC, select SSH, then select my VPC CIDR block. So I'm going to type that. That's all we need to do here. So in our outbound rule, we select our destination as the VPC CIDR. Hit save. So we're done with that. The next, we'll click create security group. This time we're going to be creating for the instance. So select our description, I'll give it a name, select my VPC. Now I'm going to be using an inbound rule here. Add rule, I'll go to SSH, and in my custom rule I'm going to specify the source as the EC2 instance connect security group that I created as our inbound source. Create security group. So we have two security groups that we just created. So here we have the EC2 instance security group and the EC2 instance connect endpoint security group. I'll change their names. Great. Let's go to our documentation. So we are going to create two permissions to enable us to use our EC2 instance connect endpoint. The first one is we're going to grant an IAM permission to use EC2 instance connect endpoint. What does this permission do? It allows users to create, describe, and delete EC2 instance connect endpoints. So that's what that permission does. So we're going to create it. This is an example of it. We're going to copy it and make note of this in red. We're going to customize it to our own details. So go to IAM, under policies, create policy, select JSON, delete what's here, paste what you copied, and then the region, we change it to our region. I'm using US East 1. And my account ID, come to the top right of your screen, copy your account ID and paste. That's all you need to do here. You save, you give it a name, and you close. I already created this policy, and that's it here. The next will be to allow users to use EC2 Instance Connect endpoint to connect to instances. So this gives us the ability for a user to be able to use an EC2 Instance Connect endpoint to connect to an EC2 instance. It sounds confusing, but that's what it is. So here we are going to copy this also and create a policy. Create a policy on IAM. Come to JSON, select it, delete what you have here, and paste. And we're going to remove the conditions. So if you click this condition, you will see the close curly braces here. So everything in between these two curly braces, we want to take them out. So we'll take all of that out. Come back and dress it up well. And then the next thing we need to do is to change our region to our current region. I use US East 1. Our account ID. You come here to your account ID. You copy your account ID. Paste. And we don't want to specify a particular instance connect endpoint. We want this policy to work with any endpoint we create. So we're going to take these endpoint details out and put the wildcard. That's all we need to do here, and we give it a name and save. I already created this also, so I'm just showing you how to do it. So once we're done with those two, these are the two policies. We'll come to our VPC, and then we go to endpoints, and we create endpoint. We give it a name. Here under service category, we want this endpoint to be used by EC2 Instance Connect endpoint. If you remember our diagram, you see this service, we want this endpoint to be used by this service. That's what we're specifying here. So this endpoint, we want it to be used by this service. So we select that. We select our VPC. Scroll down, we select our security group, EC2 Instance Connect Endpoint Security Group we created. We select our subnet. Let's put it in a private subnet. And we are good to go. So we create endpoint. This takes about 10 minutes for it to be fully active. So while that is going on, we're going to go to our EC2 and launch an instance in a private subnet of our VPC. So let's go to our EC2. Let's give it a name. We'll take Amazon Linux. I'll take Amazon Linux 2, still free tier eligible. I'm going to select my key pair, click Edit, Network Settings, pick my VPC, so I'll refresh. Select my subnet, refresh, put it in my private subnet, select my existing security group, refresh. Now I'm going to put my EC2 instance security group, select that, and let's launch. It's running, so let's select this and hit connect. Select EC2 instance connect. Select your private connecting with using EC2 instance connect endpoint, and we wait. When our endpoint is active, we can find it here, but right now it's still creating, still pending. Let's refresh. It's still pending. So effectively what we've done is we are currently creating the endpoint. We created our VPC, we created our subnets, we launched our instance, we were able to get our route table, route traffic to where we wanted. We were able to also associate our subnets with our route tables. We also went to IAM to create our permissions, one for EC2 instance connect endpoint and the other for the user, right, the our account user to be able to use EC2 instance connect endpoint. And we're waiting for our EC2 instance connect endpoint to be created. Okay, so our EC2 instance connect endpoint is available. So let's head back to our EC2 console and select our instance, click connect, select EC2 instance connect, select connect using EC2 instance connect endpoint, scroll down, select our instance connect endpoint. That's it there. There you go. And let's hit connect. And there you go. So we have effectively connected into our EC2 instance. That's the private IP address. We'll come to our instance, scroll up, go back, select the same private IP address. So the second way I'm going to show you how to connect to your instance using EC2 Instance Connect is via the instance ID. And we're going to establish connection with our local terminal in our local machine. So I'll go straight to show you how to do that. By the way, if by now you've been learning a lot of stuff, I think it's a good idea to subscribe, hit the like button, put a comment below to let me know what video you want me to create next. It helps me a lot. So let's go to the AWS documentation. So it says, and I'll put this document in the description below. If you scroll down, to connect to an instance using the instance ID, this is all you need. But before you do this, you must make sure you have installed AWS CLI in your local machine and you've configured your AWS CLI. I'll do a video on that. I use a Mac OS, so for you to install AWS CLI, the link I'll also put in the description below. This is all you need to do, these two commands. So you pick this first, that's the one you have on top, and then you pick the next one, which you have at the bottom. And then you check with which AWS and AWS version. So I'm going to go ahead to use this to confirm that I already have AWS CLI installed in my local machine. Right, that's it. So I have AWS CLI installed in my local computer. Let's connect to our instance with our instance ID. come to the documentation, and then we copy these, copy, we'll paste, we'll give a space, and then we'll come to our EC2 console and select the instance, copy the instance ID. Hit enter. Yes. Right, we are in. So we are able to SSH into the instance in our local computer, also using the instance ID. I hope you like this video. Put a comment below. Let me know what videos you want me to create next. I'll see you next time.